Hi everyone.
Hi everyone.
Today we wanted to talk about prefab or manufactured homes. We figured that would be a pretty good topic of discussion because inventory continues to be low, especially where we are in New England. So this might just add a little bit more inventory that you could consider looking at if this is something that you think might be a good fit. So do we maybe want to start by talking about different types of prefab homes and exactly what they are? How do they differ from traditional types of construction?
Yeah, so I think it's 3 or 4 really common types. You're going to have your manufactured home, the mobile home, which everybody's really kind of familiar with. You're going to have a modular home. It gets shipped in pre-built sections and they get stitched together on site. And then you're going to have kit homes.
So the mobile home then, or the manufactured home, as opposed to the modular home, would be all in one piece that gets shipped to the site, right? Already built.
Yep.
And then your modular home, it would just be built in sections and then delivered to the site and put together on the site. Is that right?
Yeah, so if you could do like a 3,000 or 4,000 square foot house with a modular home, and it's basically each room or a couple of rooms are already built, already framed, everything's done. The insulation's in place, the drywall's in place, the hardwood floors are often in place, the plumbing and electrical, it's all been done. But it gets delivered and then it gets dropped onto the foundation you've already poured. So at that point then they're literally just tying the walls together. So that each section gets tied in together. Nailed, screwed, duct taped, however they're gonna put it together, and then you not slowly but very rapidly build an entire house in like a day or two. Whereas a mobile home is just one box gets dropped onto one spot and it's done.
That's why they're usually smaller builds.
Yeah, you'll see mobile homes, 700, 800, 900, maybe 1,100 square feet.
And also with mobile homes, they're not necessarily sitting on a foundation, right?
Yeah.
So that's also one of the problems with getting a mortgage for a mobile home.
Yeah, it's very tough, and there's
if
very
it's
limited
not attached
options.
to a foundation, it might be difficult for you to get a mortgage on that because the bank might be afraid that you're just going to run off with the home.
Yeah, I've actually seen some mobile homes where it's up on blocks or up on stands, and the wheels are still attached. So like literally someone could come in, just jack it, drop it down, hook it up to a trailer, and take off.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know
by mortgage.
And now I don't know how far you can get on those wheels. Maybe you're only getting it a few miles.
Yeah.
You're not going to be going cross country with them. But you could, literally steal a house. Like with a modular home, it's
attached to a foundation.
Yeah, the foundation was poured.
So that's a big difference. But mobile homes can also be attached to a foundation, can't they?
Yeah, and if you want to get a mortgage on a mobile home, it has to be anchored to a slab or a foundation. Pretty much no lender's going to loan to you otherwise.
But even if you do get a mortgage on a mobile home, it's probably going to be a much higher rate than your standard rate.
I see anywhere from like 2%, maybe 2.5%. Yeah. Because we had a client who was looking at a mobile home and the rates were running between 6.5% and 7%.
Oh, you mean 2% higher?
Higher, yeah.
And not starting at 2%.
Starting to, but he was looking at mortgages.
Yeah, they were around 9.
Yeah, they were
or
around
10
9,
even.
10. So standard mortgage was 6.5%, 7%, and he was looking at 9 and 10, which is a significant premium to pay.
Yeah, especially for a mobile home. And I think the reason why the rates are higher is because those homes lose value quicker than your standard build.
They kind of lose value typically the same way a car does. As soon as it's purchased and dropped on site, it's almost worth less. Now, the last few years that changed because the cost of real estate was going so high and the inventory was so low. We've watched mobile homes skyrocket in value. But when a correction comes and prices start to drop, the bottom will probably drop out on those mobile homes, and somebody might have paid $250,000 for a mobile home, and in 10 years it might be worth $75,000 or $100,000, whereas a traditional house might lose 3 or 4% or 5% in a down market.
So it sounds like the modular homes are probably a better investment.
Yeah.
And it seems like you can get more square footage with a modular home.
You can get whatever square footage you want. You could do it.
Because it's in sections.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of the company you go to, they're going to have an engineer, they're going to have an architect, they're going to work with you and design what you want, and then they're going to build what you want, not only off-site, but a lot of times out of state, and then it'll get shipped and put together. Most of the companies, though, they don't do the build for you. There's very few that will. So you're still going to have to contractor, general contractor, or if you're going to do your own general contracting, you're going to have to bring in plumbers, electricians, masons. Like, you're still going to have to build a house, not just a one and done delivery. So there is a lot that goes into it, but it's a lot quicker and easier than a one-off
I was going to
build.
say it's probably a lot quicker because a lot of those parts are going to be manufactured in a controlled setting in a factory. So you don't have to, especially if you live around here, you don't have to contend with the weather.
Yeah, there was one up the street from us that was built, and they put it up, I think in like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, the entire building was up. And then they were just, they spent another month, tying in the electrical, tying in the plumbing, making sure everything was done correctly and...
Up to code?
Up to code, yes. Now, they still had to have the building inspector come through and stuff like that, so everything was still inspected. It just goes a lot quicker. But there's another option beyond modular homes. It's the same concept. You still dig and build a foundation. You've got the land and everything is just like a regular build until they start building the house. The house comes in sections like panels.
So that's your home kits.
Yeah, so those are home kits. So every wall, every piece of roof, every piece of flooring, they come in sections and they go up very, very quickly. Not as quick as a modular home, but you're still not going to spend 6 to 9 months building a house. You might spend 3 months or 2 months building the house.
The different pieces like wall and whatever else get delivered in sections. So you still have to assemble that either on your own or you have to hire a contractor to do that for you. So you still have to be hiring out a lot of that work.
Now, the nice thing about the kit homes is you don't need a crane. So when you have a modular home being built, it's being shipped on a flatbed and a crane is going to take that section of house and drop it into place. So you're going to be bringing in that element. When you're doing a kit home, the sections come in manageable pieces. So you and 4 guys could basically build a house.
Well, you probably have to know what you're doing more or less. I know they're labeled piece 1, piece 2, but you still kind of have to know how to put that together.
Yeah, you still either need to be a contractor or have a background in construction, or at least be working with somebody on site who does have a background in construction, because you're still building a kit house, which is kind of like a throwback. I don't know if anybody remembers Sears and Roebuck. If you went back to the 1930s, you could go into a catalog, pick a house, buy it, and they would send it to you
like
in boxes.
Sears.
Yeah.
Sears used to do kit homes.
Sears and Roebuck, that's
so
what I
they're
said. Same company.
I didn't hear. I don't know. It's the same company. So you still see some of those around.
Oh, they've lasted 100 years. They're well-built, good houses. So if you're buying a kit home or a modular home, you're buying a generational home, and banks will be more inclined to lend on it. But it's not every bank, and the process to getting loans on this is a little bit different than a construction loan or a standard home. You're going to have to go to a bank that will do the initial loan. Locally, we have a bank called Washington Trust. Everybody seems to go there. Yay, Washington Trust, free advertisement for you. But basically what will happen is they'll do the initial loan. They're going to ask you to put 20 or 25% down. They want you to have skin in the game because things could still go sideways. But then once the construction's done and you've taken possession of the home, typically you're going to refinance out of it because their mortgage is still going to be a little bit higher, but it's going to be for a short term.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got a straight up mobile home, you got that 9%, you're stuck at 9%. You're not going to refinance out of it. Where you might be at 9% during the build. Once the build is over, you're going to refinance back into whatever the interest rate is now.
Okay. So initially you can expect higher rates.
The initial rate during the build is going to be higher.
Because it's still risky while it's being put together.
Because it's a construction loan. So a construction loan typically has a higher rate than just purchasing a home.
Because of the risk of it not getting built?
Oh, yeah. There could be permitting issues that happen. There could be delays. There could be overages. So the money you have to borrow could be increased. So the bank is taking on a lot of risk. So they want to shield themselves from that as much as possible. The last option is kind of my favorite. I've never built one. I've never lived in one. I've never even physically seen one, but I'm absolutely obsessed with them online.
I've seen them, and I'm not crazy about the just...
They're a little boxy.
Yeah. The boxy look.
Container homes.
My favorite.
When you look at a container home, there's anything from it just looks like a regular Connex box.
And it's basically a shipping container. It's not a great look if you ask me.
But some people can get really creative with it, do multiple levels and do 2-story, 3-story.
Well, because you can weld pieces together, right? So it doesn't necessarily come out as a rectangular space, right? You can add on, so it can be a pretty sizable build. Right?
You can have a 2,000, 3,000 square foot container home. Most of them aren't, but you can do that. And like I said, you can get very creative. So you can have 2 that are lined up but offset, and then a third one coming across it, and then maybe behind that a fourth one. and you can create a courtyard in the middle that is outside year-round that all, four sides can meet and interact with. You can have exterior stairwells that go down and interior stairwells that are going around. You can do entire walls of glass. There's a lot you can do with it. They typically look a little bit better when you do something like a modern home. I just like the appeal of them. I think they're kind of cool. I'm not going to build one because I'm married and my wife's against it, but...
Sean will be getting one for himself. I'm going to get a mansion.
You don't want a mansion.
I don't, actually.
You want a log cabin.
Too much cleaning. Yeah, I do. I'm going to get a log cabin. You can get your container home.
Right.
We'll visit each other.
Thank you. Yes, we will. But those are a couple of options you can go. So if you're got very low inventory and there's a piece of land you think you might want to buy and you don't want to get into a full-blown construction loan where you're hiring an architect.
But you want a new home. It's something to consider, but do keep in mind that there are other costs involved, like hiring a builder, hiring a contractor, permits,
you're dealing
land
with roads,
prep.
You're going to be doing utilities. You might be putting in septic systems depending on where you are, tying into town sewer. So there are a lot of costs that go into it. And most of the companies, and if you reach out to me, I'll put you in touch with them, they'll actually walk you right through the process. Most of these companies are doing this on a regular basis, so they're familiar with most regions, and they're going to be able to at least assist you and give you a really good idea what the cost is going to be.
Guide you through the process. It can be a pretty involved process. You just have to be prepared for that and know what you're getting yourself into. And
depending on where you live, it could actually cost more than a traditional build.
Yeah, it's probably a good alternative to building a new home in the city. Like if you were to build a new home in Boston, it would cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, the more rural you get, so the further you get away from civilization,
the more cost effective it is. Yeah. I mean, in general, it's more cost effective even if you're not going down this route. But if you want a really nice, sizable new build and you're willing to go a little bit outside of the city, this could be a good alternative.
Yeah. All right, so any further questions, you can give one of us a call.
We only give out the one phone number, though, so...
Yeah, you can't... In my number, you're going to reach me, but I'll put you in touch with her if you want. All right, looking forward to talking to you.
See you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.